I was scrolling through dog photos when it appeared. Her, in black lace lingerie I'd never seen. In a hotel room I didn't book. Timestamp. The night she said she was at a wine tasting. That's when I knew. Sarah didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. My name's Thomas. And this is the story of how my wife's iCloud confessed. Before she ever did. My name's Thomas. 35. Project manager. The guy who double-checks flight times and keeps receipts in labeled folders. Sarah and I had been together for 6 years, married for 3. She was spontaneous in ways I admired. Yoga retreats, sudden art classes, weekend wine tastings with friends. I was the stable one. We used to joke that she brought the spark and I brought the power strip. The trip was supposed to be a work thing. Some brand strategy offsite with her team. She said they were trying something new and had booked a retreat in Santa Barbara instead of Napa this time. For days. No big deal. I even helped her pack. Watched her fold sweaters and choose a second pair of boots, just in case. She kissed me goodbye with lips that felt like they'd already left. She hadn't meant to sync the photos. That was the kicker. We'd set up a shared iCloud when we got married, mostly for budgeting and calendar stuff, not for secrets. She'd gotten a new phone before the trip. Thought she'd created a separate iCloud profile just for work, but must have logged into ours by mistake, or maybe it auto-synced before she noticed. Either way, the photos went straight to our shared drive. That's how I saw it. Not just the lingerie shot, which was time-stamped for the second night she was supposed to be at a wine tasting, but everything else. A champagne bottle with 2 glasses. A blurry shot of her legs resting across someone's lap. A dimly lit selfie taken in bed, with the edge of a second pillow just visible beside her. I remember just staring at the screen for a long time. Not moving. Not blinking. Then I did something stupid. I scrolled back. Days, months, all the way to the start of the trip. Her photos used to be so predictable. Candids of the dog, pictures of brunch, the occasional meme she thought I'd laugh at. But starting the day she flew out, it changed. Fewer selfies. No group shots. No coworker tags. And then that hotel mirror. I could have called her right then. Could have confronted her, demanded answers, maybe even driven to Santa Barbara and tried to confirm it all in person. But I didn't. I knew no scene would change what I'd already seen. And I wasn't ready to hear her lie to my face. Instead, I closed the photo app and sat with the silence. The kind of silence that rings in your ears when the truth finally shows up. Uninvited, unwelcome, undeniable. When she came home 2 days later, I didn't mention the photos. I wanted to see if she would. She didn't. She dropped her bag, hugged me like a coworker, and said she missed me. I nodded, smiled even. Because what do you do when you're not ready for the truth to break everything? You pretend a little longer. But I already knew. Something had changed. And a piece of me, the old, trusting part, wasn't coming back. The next morning, I opened her suitcase while she was in the shower. I didn't plan to. I just did. It was the way she hummed to herself, a little too brightly. The way she kept the bathroom door shut, even though she usually didn't mind it cracked open. Something about her had gone polished, like someone returning a rental car. All surface, no sentiment. And me? I was done pretending not to see what was right in front of me. Her suitcase smelled different. Not like her perfume, but someone else's cologne. Faint, but present. I found the lingerie at the bottom, folded neatly between a silk robe I'd never seen and a pair of earrings I didn't buy. The tags were still on the robe. From a boutique that wasn't in Napa. I snapped a photo of the label. Then I zipped it all back up, sat down, and stared at the wall while the shower ran. When she came out wrapped in a towel, her smile flickered, just for a second, like she sensed something had shifted. She asked if I wanted eggs. I said no. She made them anyway. That afternoon, I called the hotel. The one she claimed her company had booked, a vineyard resort with corporate packages. I asked to confirm a reservation under her name. Told them I was her husband and she'd lost the receipt. They told me no reservation existed. Not for her. Not for anyone on her team. I thanked them, hung up, and sat with that hollow feeling in my chest again. Now, I don't consider myself naive. But I've always believed people should get a chance to come clean. A window, at least. And Sarah still had hers. I didn't say a word that night. Just watched her from across the dinner table, her face glowing in the candlelight like a painting I used to know by heart, but now couldn't name. The next day, I went deeper. Tracked the boutique from the robe tag. It was in Santa Barbara, not Napa. 4 hours south. I checked her credit card statement. Sure enough, A charge from that same shop, dated the day before the photo was taken. She wasn't at a work trip. She was somewhere else entirely. And then the final nail, a photo she must have forgotten to delete from her deleted folder, one last sync that hadn't cleared the cloud. A hotel room. Messy bed. A man's leather belt draped over the armchair. And in the mirror's corner, half visible, was Sarah, smiling, wrapped in the same robe I'd found in her suitcase. I sat with that image for hours, like it was evidence in a trial I hadn't wanted to prosecute. That night, she curled up next to me in bed like nothing was wrong. Asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I said I was tired. She nodded, rolled over, fell asleep within minutes. I laid there, wide awake, listening to her breathe. And in that moment, I realized something that hurt more than any photo could. She didn't think she'd be caught, which meant she didn't think I was the kind of man who looked. That was the crack that broke me. Because when someone betrays your trust, it's not the lie that stings the most. It's the version of you they created to justify it. The passive husband. The oblivious partner. The man who never asked too many questions. But I was asking now. And soon, she was going to have to answer. Because the story she'd built was starting to collapse. And I was done holding the roof up alone. I didn't plan to confront her that night. But truth has a funny way of pulling the words out of you, even when your mouth's not ready. We were supposed to have dinner with friends, small thing, just the four of us. But halfway through her telling some story about a vineyard tour that never happened, I caught myself watching her lips move and thinking, this woman's a stranger. Every laugh, every sip of wine, every hand on my knee under the table, it all felt like theater. And I was the fool still clapping from the front row. I excused myself, said I needed air. She followed. Outside, under the porch light, she wrapped her arms around herself and asked if I was okay. I asked her which hotel she stayed at. She blinked. What? I repeated the question. Calm. Steady. She rattled off the name she'd given me before, the Vineyard Resort. So I nodded, then told her I'd called that hotel. And they had no record of her. The air went still. Her lips parted, then pressed into a line. She looked past me, like maybe the hedge would offer her an answer I wouldn't. Then she said the line I'll never forget. You were never the kind of person who went through my stuff. Not, it's not what you think. Not, let me explain. Not even, I'm sorry. Just that. As if the real betrayal wasn't hers, it was mine, for finally looking. And for a second, I almost felt like I owed her an apology for daring to check. I didn't answer her right away. I just pulled out my phone and showed her the photo, the robe, the belt, the smile she wore for someone else. She looked down, said nothing. Her silence wasn't guilt. It was calculation. Like she was choosing which version of the truth to offer. You weren't supposed to find that, she finally said. I thought I deleted everything. Not I didn't mean for it to happen. Not I regret it. Just that. And something inside me, something old and quiet and loyal, finally cracked. Was it just once? I asked. She didn't answer. Was it someone I know? Still nothing. Was any of it real? That one she looked up for. And the look in her eyes wasn't anger or panic, it was grief. Like I just named the thing she'd been trying not to say out loud. Yes, she whispered. Some of it. Some. Not all. That some was a knife. Dull, but deep. I walked away then. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just done. Left her standing in the soft porch light with her arms still wrapped around herself, as if trying to keep the version of her I once knew from slipping completely away. When I got home, I turned off the phone. Didn't cry. Didn't throw anything. Just sat on the edge of our bed and looked around the room we built, framed photos, shared nightstands, the throw pillow she always said was too itchy but never got rid of. All of it felt like props from a stage play I wasn't in anymore. I slept on the couch. She didn't come home that night. Didn't call, either. And that silence? It said more than any confession ever could. Because once someone stops fighting for you to believe in them, they've already moved on. And they're just waiting for you to catch up. 2 days passed. No calls. No texts. Just silence thick enough to choke on. I didn't reach out. I didn't have it in me. It's strange how quickly love can turn into something you're afraid to touch, like a wound you keep checking, even though you know it'll still hurt. The second night, she came home. I heard her key in the door. The way she paused before turning it. Like maybe she was hoping I wouldn't be there. Or maybe she was hoping I would. I didn't get up from the couch. Didn't move. She stepped inside, gently closed the door behind her, and looked at me the way someone looks at a painting they once adored but no longer recognize. I didn't sleep with him, she said. Not a hello. Not a how are you. Just that. I said nothing. She walked to the edge of the room, but didn't sit. Just hovered there, like she wasn't sure where she was allowed to exist anymore. I met him at a conference last year, she went on. It started as a conversation. Nothing serious. He lived far away. It was easy to pretend it wasn't real. I still said nothing. She sighed. When the Napa trip came up, I lied. I told my boss I was working remote and booked a different hotel. That tracked. I already knew it. But hearing her say it out loud still felt like sandpaper. I just wanted something that wasn't ordinary. That didn't feel like bills and groceries and Sunday meal prep. That's when I looked up. You mean something that didn't feel like me? She opened her mouth to argue. Stopped. Then nodded. Yes. There it was. Honest. Brutal. I waited for an apology. She didn't give one. Instead, she sat down on the arm of the chair across from me, not in it. Like she wasn't staying. I don't want a divorce, she said. I still see us. Or maybe just the idea of us. And I can't let it go. I know I broke something, but I want to believe it can heal. That caught me. I laughed once, bitterly. What do you want then? For me to pretend this didn't happen? She winced. No. I want to fix it. You don't fix a cracked foundation by painting over the walls. She flinched again, but this time she didn't look away. I made a mistake, she said. I shook my head. No. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. Leaving the stove on. This was a series of decisions. And every one of them said I didn't matter. She went quiet. Not because she disagreed, but because there was nothing left to argue. And here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It's not the act itself. It's the quiet afterward. The way it echoes. Finally, I stood up. I'm not asking you to leave. Not tonight. But I need time. Space. She nodded. I walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Not to shut her out, but because I needed to remember who I was without her voice in my ear. Explaining, justifying, softening the edges of things that should have stayed sharp. I lay awake for hours. Not replaying the night we met. Not the wedding. Not the good years. Just the last few days. Just the lies. And the truth she waited too long to give. Around 3 a.m., I got up and opened our closet. Pulled out the duffel bag I hadn't touched since our honeymoon. And started packing. Not to leave forever. Not yet. But sometimes, you have to walk away from the fire just to see how much of you is still intact. I checked into a motel off the interstate. The kind of place where the vending machines hum louder than the TV and the walls are painted beige, like they're trying not to be noticed. It wasn't much, but it gave me what I needed, distance. I stared at myself in the bathroom mirror that first night. The face looking back was familiar, but something behind the eyes had gone quieter. Not broken, not angry, just still. There's a moment after betrayal when you stop asking, why did they do this? And start asking, what now? I didn't know what now, so I made a list. It's stupid, I know, but I needed something to hold on to. Something normal. I wrote it on the motel's notepad, the one with the logo printed crooked at the top. To do. Call lawyer, just in case. Change iCloud settings. Talk to Sarah, when I'm ready, not before. Tell someone. Anyone. Number 4 took me the longest. I ended up calling Matthew, my brother. We hadn't talked deeply in months. Not since his youngest was born and life got busy. But he picked up on the second ring. He asked how I was doing. I told him the truth. It poured out in pieces. The lingerie photo. The hotel that didn't exist. The quiet way she confessed, like honesty was something she borrowed, not owned. He listened. Didn't interrupt. When I was done, he exhaled the way older brothers do when they're fighting back every instinct to punch someone in your defense. You didn't deserve that, he said. Simple. Unpolished. But I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear it. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the motel bed for a long time, staring at the grain of the faux wood furniture. That cheap lacquered surface became the backdrop for thoughts I hadn't allowed to form before. I kept thinking about how easy it is to become invisible in your own marriage. Not all at once, not in some cinematic betrayal, but piece by piece. A skipped goodnight kiss here, a distracted nod there. Not like a storm, more like fog. A quiet, creeping erasure. One morning you wake up and realize the view's gone, and you can't remember the last time you actually looked. The next day, Sarah texted. Just 4 words. Can we talk soon? I didn't respond. I read it twice. Then I put the phone down. Instead, I drove back home, not to confront her, not for drama, just to pick up a few more things. Some files I'd forgotten, my old camera, the sweater I always wore on late-night walks. She wasn't there. The house was still, almost reverent, like it understood what had broken inside it. I moved quietly, took what I needed, stopped by the bookshelf and pulled down my leather-bound journal, the one I hadn't touched in months. On the nightstand, I found the letter. My name written in her handwriting, the same loops and careful curves she used on birthday cards and love notes back when things were still soft between us. I didn't open it right away. Just tucked it into my backpack like it might burn my fingers if I looked too closely. Back at the motel, I finally read it. Sat cross-legged on the stiff bedspread, her words laid out in black ink on cream paper like an autopsy report of our life. She didn't beg. She didn't deny. She didn't even try to shift the blame. She wrote about loneliness, the quiet, aching kind that follows you even when someone else is in the room. About fear, of time passing, of getting too comfortable, of waking up at 50 wondering where the fire went. She said she thought she wanted excitement, but what she chased instead was absence. That what she found wasn't passion, just distraction wrapped in silk. She said she didn't know why she couldn't tell me the truth sooner. Said the look on my face when I held up the phone haunts her more than the act itself, like I'd seen someone I didn't recognize. And she was right. I had. And the worst part? I think she did too. Sometimes people break the life they built just to see if they still can. To test the walls. To convince themselves it was fragile all along, not something they willingly shattered. But breaking isn't clean. There are splinters. Jagged pieces. Even when you apologize, the edge is still cut. I sat with that letter for a long time. Didn't cry. Didn't curse. Just wrote a few things down in my journal. Not for her. Not for closure. Just to remember. What I felt. What I saw. What I wouldn't unsee. And then I wrote something I hadn't let myself think until that night. I might not want this marriage anymore. Not because I stopped loving her, but because, for the first time in a long time, I finally started loving myself more than the idea of us. 2 weeks after the photo synced, I asked her to meet me at the park down the street from where we used to live when things were simple. I picked the spot on purpose, not for nostalgia, for context. I wanted to see who we were, one last time, before I let that version of us go. She was already sitting when I got there. Same navy coat. Same nervous posture, elbows tight, legs crossed, fingers tracing the hem of her sleeve like a prayer. When she saw me, she smiled. A small, hopeful thing. I didn't smile back. We sat there for a while. The kind of silence that isn't awkward, just heavy. Like two people waiting for a train they both know isn't coming. Then she asked, "Do you hate me?" I shook my head. "No, but I'm not sure I know you anymore." She nodded, slow. "I was scared, Thomas." "I know. I thought maybe I was missing something. That maybe it wasn't supposed to feel so calm." I looked at her. Calm isn't bad. Calm is trust. Calm is the thing you're supposed to come home to. She wiped at her eye. "I thought you'd fight for me." That one hit different. Not because she was wrong, but because I think, deep down, she never really wanted me to fight. She wanted the permission to leave without calling it abandonment. And if I stayed quiet long enough, maybe I'd be the one to open the door. "I did fight," I said. "Every day I trusted you. Every night I laid next to you and believed in us, even when something felt off. I gave you space to come back with the truth. You used it to leave instead." She looked down. "I'm sorry," she said. "I wish I could take it back." "I believe you," I said. "But that doesn't mean we go backward." I reached into my coat and pulled out the manila envelope, this time filled with divorce papers. No photos. No accusations. Just an ending. She looked at it. Then at me. "I'm not angry," I said quietly. "But I'm not staying." Tears welled up in her eyes. She nodded, but barely. "You were my best friend," she whispered. "And you were mine." We sat a little longer. The wind picked up and rustled the bare trees, tugging at the corners of that moment like even the world was ready to move on. When I stood, she did too. No hug. No last plea. Just two people who once planned forever, and were now walking away from it. I walked first. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Because sometimes closure isn't a door slammed shut. It's a quiet park bench, a stack of papers, and two people choosing piece over pieces. That night, I went back to the motel. Packed the last of my things. Went home. But not our home. I signed a lease on a new place, smaller, simpler, just enough for me. No shared cloud. No key under the mat. Just my name on the door and a clean set of walls. It's quiet there, but not lonely. And that's the difference. I see friends again. I run on weekends. I started taking photos again, not of people, just light, places, textures. Street corners in the early morning. Rain on pavement. Stillness. I kept one photo of Sarah and me. The one from our engagement, laughing in the rain. No umbrella, just joy. It lives in a box. Not to mourn her. Not to punish myself. Just to remember who I was. And who I won't be again. Sometimes I open that box. Not to relive the story, but to remind myself how far I've come since the ending. Because not every love story ends in flames or fury. Some end quietly, with a photo you weren't meant to see. And a man who finally saw himself clearly, steady, honest, and free.